If your only measure of wealth is your paycheck, you will always feel poor. Real wealth begins in the mind, in the decisions you make, the habits you form, and the ideas you cultivate. Your money will always follow your mindset, not your hours worked. Most people spend their lives chasing money, thinking hard work alone is the answer. But let me tell you something few ever realize. Wealth is first created in the mind long before it appears in your bank account. It's a thought, a decision, a philosophy, and until you master your mind, your money will always master you. Imagine a gardener planting seeds without understanding the soil. No matter how many seeds he plants, the harvest will be poor. Your mind is the soil, your thoughts are the seeds, and your actions are the water. If you neglect the soil, your labor will be in vain. Money, my friends, grows from fertile minds, not just tired hands. You see, the 97% of people work tirelessly, yet stay trapped. Why? Because they trade hours for dollars without understanding the invisible laws that govern wealth. But the 3% know that their future income begins in the present mind. Today I'm going to show you how to think, decide, and act like the wealthy so your money begins working for you, not the other way around. Before you earn another dollar, you must first earn mastery over your own mind. Discipline, clarity, and vision, these are the true currencies of wealth. And if you don't control your mind, no amount of hard work will ever make you rich. So let me ask you, if your thoughts were money, how wealthy would you be today? You see, most people spend their lives working for money, thinking that the harder they labor, the closer they get to freedom. They punch the clock, they chase raises, they trade hours for dollars, believing this is the only path to security. But let me share something few understand. Hard work earns a living, but smart thinking builds wealth. The goal is not simply to labor for money. The goal is to make money work for you. Once you grasp this, everything changes. Your efforts become multiplied, your income no longer bound by time, and your freedom begins to expand. I remember when I first understood this principle. I was working long hours, often exhausted, thinking that effort alone would solve all my problems. I would come home tired, yet see bills piling up, and the sense of freedom I craved felt further away, not closer. Then a mentor looked me in the eye and said, "Don't work for money, make money work for you." Those words felt like a revelation. I realized that while hard work is important, it has limits. Time is finite, energy is finite, and no matter how dedicated you are, there are only so many hours in a day. True wealth, lasting wealth, comes from creating systems where your money labors for you instead of the other way around. The first step is to see your income not as spending money, but as capital, a seed. Every dollar you earn has the potential to grow, to generate more dollars, and to multiply your freedom. But that seed must be planted, nurtured, and protected. Saving a fixed percentage of your income, 10, 15, 20%, is the beginning of this process. It doesn't matter if your income is small. What matters is the habit of regularly setting aside money to invest, to let it work while you sleep. Discipline is more important than the size of the first deposit. Investing doesn't have to be complicated, but it must be consistent. Learn the principles of compounding, understand the basics of index funds, explore small business equity, or any vehicle where your money grows without constant effort on your part. The key is not chasing schemes or quick wins, but establishing a system where your money is always working, always producing. Think of it as putting together a team. Each investment, each asset is a worker on your team. And like any effective team, you supervise, guide, and let them do what they are trained to do, producing results consistently. Another way to make money work for you is to create passive streams of income. This could be a rental property, a digital product, a small business, or royalties from something you create. The first time I created a small workshop that paid me repeatedly for content I had prepared once, I understood the power of leverage. My effort didn't stop at that moment. It continued to generate income long after the initial work was done. That is the essence of wealth. Building systems that multiply the returns of your labor. It is not enough to save and hope. Action is required. I encourage anyone listening to choose one method of investing, one source of passive income, and commit to it. Start small, start consistent, and watch over time how your money begins to free you instead of you being bound by it. Many people remain trapped in the cycle of working paycheck to paycheck because they never let their earnings become workers, because they never shift from being employees of money to employers of money. Remember, your income is the seed, your discipline is the water, and your investments are the soil where wealth grows. Over months and years, these small seeds, carefully nurtured, grow into a forest of financial freedom. You'll look back and realize the hours you once traded for dollars are now multiplied by the compounding power of money at work. That is the true shift from laboring for money to letting money labor for you. The sooner you begin, the sooner your freedom begins to grow. Wealth begins in the mind long before it ever shows up in your wallet. Many people spend their lives chasing money, thinking that it is the solution to all problems, the answer to freedom, or the key to happiness. But let me tell you something simple yet profound. Money is the fruit, not the root. The root is your philosophy, the way you think about value, effort, and reward. If you want to have more, you must first become more. That means expanding your mind, shaping your thoughts, and cultivating habits that naturally draw opportunity and abundance toward you. It isn't about luck. It isn't about working harder than everyone else, though effort is required. It's about working smarter, starting with the most powerful tool you have, your mind. I remember when I was starting out, I didn't have much money. In fact, I had very little. But what I did have was curiosity and a willingness to learn. I devoured books about human behavior, about success, about money, about the principles that govern wealth. Each page I read planted a seed in my mind. I began to see opportunities where others saw problems, solutions where others saw barriers. I realized that the wealthy don't simply stumble upon their success, they see the world differently. They think differently. They act differently. Their thoughts guide their decisions, and their decisions shape their results. The first step is training your mind to see opportunities instead of obstacles. Life will always give you reasons why something cannot be done. But the disciplined mind asks, how can it be done? How can I add value? How can I turn this situation into a chance to create more? It's a shift in perspective. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, begin asking, how can I afford it? That simple change in language rewires your thinking. It moves you from limitation to possibility. It forces creativity, it forces problem solving, and it builds confidence. Practical steps to cultivate this mindset are simple but powerful. Begin by dedicating just 10 pages a day to books on money, human behavior, or psychology. It doesn't have to be a massive reading goal. Consistency is the secret. 10 pages every day compounds over time. The ideas you absorb, the insights you gain, slowly reshape the way you view the world. You begin to see patterns, to recognize solutions, and to anticipate opportunities before they appear. Journaling is another incredibly practical tool. Every day, write down ideas, small, big, or even seemingly impossible, that could create value for others. Don't judge them yet. Simply let the mind explore. Some of these ideas will grow, some will fade, but the habit itself teaches your brain to think in terms of contribution and creation. Wealth is always a byproduct of value. When you train yourself to notice ways to provide value, to serve others, and to solve problems, money naturally flows as the reward. I once worked with a young man who thought he was stuck because he didn't have a high-paying job. I asked him what he was learning each day. He said, "Not much." I challenged him to read 10 pages a day and start keeping a journal of ideas that could help someone else. 6 months later, he had not only developed a side business, but had transformed his thinking. He saw money not as something to chase, but as a reflection of the value he could create. The breakthrough wasn't in what he earned first, but in the transformation of his mind. Your financial future starts in your mind. Feed it wisdom, curiosity, and creativity. Question scarcity and embrace possibility. Track your thoughts, journal your ideas, and constantly ask how you can serve more effectively. Every dollar you make will follow the mind that created it. Wealth is not first deposited in the bank. It is first cultivated in your imagination, refined in your thinking, and disciplined in your action. The moment you commit to growing your mind, wealth will follow, not because it is guaranteed, but because a prepared mind naturally attracts opportunity. Many people believe that once they finish school, their education is complete. They earn a degree, get a job, and believe that's all they need to succeed. But let me tell you something the world rarely emphasizes. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. The difference between surviving and thriving, between merely earning and truly building wealth, lies not in the letters after your name, but in what you continue to feed your mind long after you leave the classroom. I learned this lesson the hard way. I remember starting out with very little, armed with a basic education and a mountain of ambition, but no roadmap. I worked hard, but the returns were limited because my knowledge was limited. Then I discovered the power of self-education. I began reading books, attending seminars, and learning from people who had walked the path before me. I realized that my earning potential was directly tied to my capacity to learn, to think, and to grow. If I wanted more, I had to become more. The key is to make learning a daily ritual. Just as you brush your teeth to maintain your health, you must exercise your mind to maintain and grow your financial strength. Dedicate at least 30 minutes a day to intentional learning, not social media scrolling, not fleeting distractions, but deliberate, purposeful study. Read books on money, psychology, negotiation, human behavior. Listen to podcasts or watch lectures that challenge your thinking. Immerse yourself in knowledge that expands your ability to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Your mind must stay ahead of your circumstances, because your circumstances will not wait for you to catch up. But knowledge alone is not enough. The wealthy, the 3%, don't simply accumulate information, they apply it. Every week, choose one new idea, one strategy, one principle, and put it into practice. It could be as simple as tracking your spending in a new way, trying a new investing technique, or implementing a habit that increases your productivity. Knowledge unused is wasted wealth, and ideas untested are opportunities lost. I can't count the number of times a small insight applied immediately turned into a larger opportunity. One time, I read about the compounding power of small daily investments, and I decided to start with just $5 a week. It seemed insignificant at the time, but within a few years, it became a steady and growing source of financial security. Self-education isn't just about financial literacy. It's about shaping your mindset, your habits, and your vision. It's about preparing yourself to recognize and seize opportunities that others overlook. Many people are surrounded by opportunities but fail to notice them because their thinking has been dulled by routine or lack of curiosity. The moment you commit to learning continuously, your perspective changes. You begin to see value in situations where others see risk and possibilities where others see limitations. Remember, the real difference between the 97% who struggle and the 3% who build lasting wealth is not luck, not inheritance, not timing. It's learning after school. It's what you do with your mind that determines the size of your fortune. Make studying a habit, attend seminars when you can, read widely, and most importantly, act on what you learn. Your future is a reflection of the knowledge you choose to acquire today and the actions you take tomorrow. When you invest in yourself, your earning potential increases exponentially. Your mind becomes your most valuable asset, capable of generating ideas, solutions, and income streams that no job alone could ever provide. Commit to self-education, and you'll find doors opening where once there were walls. Your mind is the seed of wealth. Nurture it daily, and the harvest will follow naturally. Most people live as if life were a sprint. They chase immediate pleasures, quick thrills, and instant gratification, believing that wealth is something that can be won overnight. But let me tell you a truth that too few understand. Real wealth is built, not won. It grows slowly, deliberately, and patiently, like a tree planted from a tiny seed that eventually bears abundant fruit. The rich think in decades, the poor think in weekends. The difference is not just money, it's vision, discipline, and a willingness to delay today's comfort for tomorrow's freedom. I remember early in my life sitting in my first tiny apartment, counting every dollar, wondering how I would ever achieve the kind of security and freedom I dreamed of. The temptation to indulge in small pleasures was strong. A night out with friends, a new gadget, a fancy meal. Each of these seemed harmless, but they accumulated into habits that kept me stagnant. Then I began to understand the principle of delayed gratification. I started trading short-term pleasure for long-term freedom. I didn't give up enjoying life, but I learned to prioritize the harvest over the instant gratification. Every dollar I didn't spend on fleeting pleasure became a seed I planted, seeds of investment, knowledge, and opportunity that grew over time. Thinking long-term requires vision. Wealth is not a number you reach next week. It is a lifestyle you cultivate over years. That's why I recommend creating a 5-year vision plan. This isn't just about income goals. It's about your life as a whole. The house you want, the education you want for your children, the freedom you want for yourself, the habits you want to cultivate. Write it down in detail. Describe not only how much money you want to save or invest, but what kind of person you want to be, what routines you will follow, and what principles you will uphold. A clear vision acts like a compass, guiding your daily choices and helping you resist the temptations of the immediate. Practical steps bring this vision to life. Start small. Skip one impulse purchase each week, a coffee, a snack, a small indulgence, and invest that amount instead. It may seem insignificant at first, but compounded over months and years, these small sacrifices grow into significant sums. Wealth is a collection of tiny, consistent decisions made over time, not dramatic gestures made once in a while. Review your progress quarterly. Look at what you've saved, invested, and learned. Celebrate the wins. Learn from the mistakes, and adjust your course. This reinforces long-term thinking and prevents you from being derailed by short-term temptations or setbacks. Patience is a discipline, and discipline is the bridge between goals and results. Those who think long-term understand that setbacks are temporary and small gains accumulate into lasting success. I remember when I started investing in my knowledge and skills rather than chasing immediate profit. There were months when results seemed slow and frustration crept in. But over time, the value of what I learned multiplied. The people I met, the systems I built, the habits I cultivated, all compounded into a foundation of wealth far beyond what I could have achieved chasing short-term wins. Wealth isn't about luck or a windfall. It's about vision, patience, and consistent action. It's about planting seeds today, nurturing them, and trusting the process of growth. The choices you make now, skipping a small indulgence, investing a little extra, learning a new skill, determine the freedom you will enjoy in 5, 10, or 20 years. Think long-term, act with discipline, and the harvest will come. Remember, you cannot rush a tree to grow fruit. You must water it, nourish it, and give it time. Wealth is no different. One of the most powerful lessons I ever learned about money was this: discipline always comes before desire. You see, most people live backwards when it comes to their finances. They earn, they spend, and if there's anything left, they might save. That's why so many never get ahead. They are enslaved to impulse and circumstance. But the moment you learn to pay yourself first, everything changes. Paying yourself first is not just a financial strategy, it's a philosophy, a way of declaring that your future matters more than temporary pleasure. It's saying, I value tomorrow more than today's fleeting satisfaction. Early in my career, I had very little money. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, staring at a paycheck that barely covered the bills, thinking, how can I possibly save anything? But that's exactly when I learned the secret. I didn't need to wait until I earned more. I didn't need to wait until life was easier. I simply decided that a portion of every paycheck would belong to my future, no questions asked. At first, it was just a small percentage, $1 here, a few dollars there, but that small act taught me ownership. It taught me that I could lead my money instead of being led by it. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's the silent force that turns intention into action. Every paycheck is a choice. Feed your impulses or feed your future. Most people feed their impulses and wonder why their life never changes. Those who succeed feed their future first and only then allocate what remains to life's expenses. I recommend a simple system that has worked for countless people. Take your income and divide it. 70% for living, 10% for self-education, 10% for investments, and 10% for giving. Notice that life doesn't get the lion's share. Your future does. Education and investment are not luxuries, they are necessities. They are the seeds from which freedom and wealth grow. Automation is key. Don't wait for the discipline to appear after temptation strikes. Set up your savings and investments to happen automatically. Every paycheck, a portion goes to your future without you needing to think about it. This takes the guesswork out of saving and ensures consistency. Small, consistent contributions over time compound into enormous results. I've seen modest investments made over years grow into financial foundations capable of supporting entire families. And it all began with the decision to pay yourself first. Another principle I live by: never increase your lifestyle until your investments increase first. Too often, people earn more and immediately spend more. They upgrade cars, homes, and habits while their future stagnates. Wealth is not about looking successful today. It's about being financially independent tomorrow. By prioritizing your investments over your lifestyle, you ensure that each increase in income actually builds lasting security rather than temporary satisfaction. I recall mentoring a young man who was eager to earn more. He wanted a bigger car, a better apartment, the trappings of success. I asked him, "What are your investments doing?" He looked surprised. The truth is, many chase status while neglecting substance. Paying yourself first is a quiet act of power. It may not impress others, but it creates freedom. Freedom to make choices, freedom to take risks, and freedom to live life on your terms. Discipline before desire is not deprivation, it is empowerment. It transforms every dollar into a worker on your team. Every time you allocate money for savings or investments first, you are telling the world and yourself that your future is important. The rewards don't come overnight, but over time, they become unstoppable. So start today. Decide that a portion of every paycheck belongs to you. Not your bills, not your habits, not the world, but to your future. Pay yourself first, and watch how life begins to serve you rather than the other way around. One of the most overlooked secrets to wealth is the company you keep. It may surprise you, but your income, your habits, your mindset, and ultimately your results are profoundly shaped by the people around you. I once heard a simple truth that changed the way I approached every relationship. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that. Not the people you casually meet, not the strangers you pass on the street, but the ones you consistently allow into your world. If those 5 people are constantly complaining, whining, or focused on the negative, your mindset, your energy, and your financial habits will gradually mirror theirs. Conversely, if those 5 people are thinkers, learners, investors of their time, money, and energy, you can't help but rise along with them. I remember early in my career, I had friends who lived paycheck to paycheck, always lamenting the economy, always convinced the world was against them. I would listen, nod politely, and eventually notice a weight forming in my own thinking. Their complaints became a backdrop in my mind, coloring my perspective, tempting me to believe I too was trapped by circumstance. One day, I realized I was spending more time reacting to negativity than acting on opportunity. That was a turning point. I decided that if I wanted wealth, not just financial freedom, but intellectual and emotional freedom, I had to choose my circle carefully. From that moment, I sought out people who challenged me, not just those who agreed with me. I looked for thinkers, for those who had achieved something I aspired to, for mentors who stretched my comfort zone and made me question my assumptions. I joined seminars, invested time in discussions with people who thought differently, and surrounded myself with individuals who were disciplined, focused, and goal-oriented. The difference was immediate. Conversation shifted from "I can't" to "how can I?" From complaining about what's missing to planning how to create what's needed. Your environment is a subtle teacher. It may whisper or shout, but it always instructs. Building wealth is rarely a solo endeavor. You need mentors, advisors, and peers who provide honest feedback, encouragement, and accountability. This doesn't mean you blindly follow others. It means you allow their insights to sharpen your thinking. I recall one of my earliest mentors challenging me to track every dollar I earned and spent. At first, I resisted. I thought, I already know where my money goes. But my mentor persisted, and through that accountability, I began to see habits I never noticed. Surrounding yourself with thinkers does the same thing. It reveals blind spots, inspires new ideas, and keeps you focused on growth. Practical action is simple, but not always easy. Find a mastermind group, a mentor, or an accountability partner. Share your financial goals openly with someone you trust, someone who will question you when you stray and celebrate you when you progress. Simultaneously, distance yourself from negativity. Limit time with those who drain your energy, who gossip, who focus on scarcity instead of opportunity. Protect your mind as carefully as you protect your money. The influence of a single negative voice can quietly erode confidence, discipline, and focus. The wealthiest people I know are readers, learners, thinkers, and doers. They surround themselves with others who elevate, not deplete. They discuss ideas, strategies, challenges, and opportunities, not complaints, distractions, or envy. If you want your financial life to improve, start by auditing your circle. Ask yourself, who shapes my thinking every day? Who inspires me to act and grow? Who keeps me accountable? Choose wisely, because your circle will either be the wind beneath your wings or the weight holding you down. Remember, financial freedom is not just about managing money wisely. It's about growing your mind, cultivating vision, and harnessing the energy of those around you. Surround yourself with thinkers, and your wealth will grow alongside your mindset. When I talk about wealth, I often hear people say, I just want to be comfortable. I want a nice house, a reliable car, and enough to enjoy life. And I understand that. Comfort is important. But let me ask you a deeper question. What will you leave behind when you are gone? Because true wealth isn't measured by what sits in a bank account or even by what you own. True wealth is measured by the impact you leave, the people you influence, the principles you live by, and the philosophy you instill in others. You see, money alone can vanish in a heartbeat, but wisdom, character, and disciplined habits can echo for generations. That is the essence of legacy thinking. Early in my career, I worked hard to accumulate income, and I took pride in the numbers. But one day, I realized something profound. If all I did was accumulate and consume, I had missed the opportunity to multiply my influence. I asked myself, am I building wealth that outlives me, or am I building a life that ends with me? That question changed everything. I began to shift my focus from merely earning to thinking about how my actions could leave a lasting mark. Every investment I made, every lesson I learned, I asked, how can this serve not only me, but those who come after me? Legacy thinking is a mindset. It requires you to see beyond today and tomorrow and imagine the ripple effects of your decisions across decades. It's about building a system that transfers knowledge, habits, and opportunity, not just dollars. I remember mentoring a young colleague early in my journey. I didn't give him money. I gave him guidance, principles, and frameworks to manage his finances, to think strategically, and to develop discipline. Years later, that young man not only achieved financial success, but also began mentoring others in turn. That, to me, is wealth multiplied. If you want to cultivate a legacy, it begins with teaching. Take someone under your wing, a family member, a friend, or a colleague, and show them how to think about money, how to prioritize learning, how to invest in themselves. Share your successes, yes, but also your failures. Transparency creates understanding. Principles outlive advice. The young may not remember the numbers you saved, but they will remember how you approached life, how you made decisions, and how you valued growth over instant gratification. That knowledge becomes the inheritance that truly matters. Practical steps are straightforward. Start by documenting your financial principles for your family. Write down the methods, habits, and rules that guide your money decisions. Don't just focus on figures, focus on philosophy. What do you value? How do you prioritize saving, giving, and investing? Teach them why these principles matter, not merely what to do. Contribute a portion of your earnings to causes that align with your values. When your wealth supports something larger than yourself, it begins to echo through communities, creating impact that is measurable in both hearts and minds. Legacy thinking also forces you to think long-term in everything you do. Short-term gains are fleeting, but long-term vision compounds, just like money in a disciplined investment. When you consider the generations after you, you begin to make smarter decisions today. You resist impulsive spending, you invest in meaningful assets, and you prioritize growth that benefits not only you, but those who follow. I've seen families transform not by sudden inheritances, but by consistent wisdom, guidance, and examples passed down. That is the true fortune. Remember, the richest people I've met are not always those with the largest bank accounts. They are those whose influence, teachings, and habits continue to shape lives long after they leave the room. Wealth becomes immortal when it lives in minds, not just in money. So I challenge you today, think beyond yourself, build wealth that outlives you. Leave behind people who know how to think, act, and grow. Teach principles that create freedom. Plant seeds today that will bloom for generations. That is how you create a legacy that money alone could never achieve. Too many people live paycheck to paycheck, believing that the job they have today will somehow carry them safely through tomorrow. I've met thousands of hardworking individuals who are diligent, responsible, and talented, yet they remain financially fragile. One missed paycheck, one unexpected bill, and suddenly their world feels like it's falling apart. That's why I always say, relying on a single income is one of the greatest financial risks you can take. True wealth comes from diversity, from creating multiple streams of income that work for you, whether you are awake, asleep, or even on vacation. When I started out, I depended entirely on my first job. I worked long hours, thinking that more effort meant more security. But then reality hit. No matter how much I worked, there was a ceiling to my earnings. And worse, all my eggs were in one basket. I realized that if I wanted freedom, if I wanted to truly take control of my financial destiny, I had to stop trading time for money and start building multiple income streams, some that required my direct effort and others that continued to earn while I slept. The philosophy is simple. Money should never rest idle. Just as a farmer doesn't plant seeds in only one field, a wise person spreads opportunity across several areas. You want some streams that are active? A business, consulting, or freelance work where you exchange your time for value. But you also want streams that are passive, investments, royalties, digital products, real estate, things that continue to earn even when your attention is elsewhere. That balance is the safety net of wealth. It provides resilience. When one stream falters, the others support you. It allows you to take calculated risks, seize opportunities, and grow without the constant fear of collapse. Practical steps: start small but build powerfully over time. Begin with a side hustle, something that uses a skill you already possess. Maybe it's consulting, teaching, or creating a product that solves a problem. This isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter, turning your abilities into additional sources of value. I remember early on taking a small consulting job in my evenings while still working full-time. It didn't pay much at first, but it taught me systems, responsibility, and how to create income beyond my primary job. That small step later became a foundation for much larger opportunities. Investing is another key stream. You don't need millions to start. Small, consistent contributions to stocks, ETFs, or real estate gradually compound into a meaningful asset base. The principle is to make your money work as hard as you do. Even a few dollars a week, invested intelligently, will grow into a passive source that provides freedom and stability years down the road. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Waiting only delays your independence. I've seen students begin with the smallest investments and through patience and consistency, watch them grow into significant wealth. Finally, consider intellectual property and royalties. Create something once, a book, a course, a digital product, and let it generate income repeatedly. This is the essence of leverage. Using your knowledge, time, or creativity to work for you indefinitely. I recall when I wrote a simple manual for personal development. At the time, it felt modest. But years later, it continued to produce results and income without further effort. That is the magic of multiple streams. One action today can pay dividends for years. So the lesson is clear. Don't depend on a single paycheck. Build multiple streams of income. Balance active work with passive investments. Take small steps consistently and let time and compounding do the heavy lifting. The security, freedom, and flexibility that come from diversified income cannot be overstated. Your financial life becomes resilient, your choices become abundant, and your path to wealth becomes unstoppable. Diversify, leverage, and let your money serve you, not the other way around. Many people confuse spending with investing. They see a shiny car, a luxury gadget, or the latest fashion and believe they are building wealth. I remember being young and making similar mistakes, thinking that owning the right things meant I was successful. But success, real financial success, doesn't come from things that drain your pockets. It comes from assets, things that put money into your pocket, not take it out. Wealth is not measured by what you own that costs you. It is measured by what you own that earns for you. This simple truth separates the 3% from the 97%. I've often said that rich people buy assets and poor people buy liabilities, thinking they're assets. A liability is anything that requires continuous outflow, car payments, high-interest credit cards, designer labels, while an asset generates income or value over time. Understanding this distinction is the cornerstone of building lasting wealth. The mind of a wealthy person is constantly asking, will this bring me closer to financial freedom or take me further away? That question guides every decision, every purchase, and every investment. The strategy is straightforward but requires discipline. Distinguish between money that costs you and money that makes you money. Every dollar you spend should be evaluated. Will it create future income, increase your knowledge, or improve your financial position? Or is it just temporary pleasure with a permanent cost? I remember when I first started tracking my own spending, I would write down every purchase in a small notebook. I began to see patterns, money going to things that brought no return. Each realization was a spark. Every time I reframed a purchase from a liability to an asset, I took one more step toward independence. Practical steps start with awareness. Begin by tracking every purchase for a month. Categorize each item. Is it an asset or a liability? You'll be shocked at how much goes to liabilities disguised as necessities or treats. Once you see it clearly, you can begin redirecting funds toward assets. Invest in things that produce cash flow, rental properties, small businesses, intellectual property, or even education that increases your earning potential. For instance, when I first invested in books and courses, I wasn't spending to impress anyone. I was building a personal library of knowledge. That knowledge became ideas, ideas became action, and action created results. The value of that investment compounded far beyond any short-term pleasure I could have bought. Another essential principle is avoiding lifestyle inflation. Many people earn more and immediately spend more, assuming wealth is about living large. Wealth is built quietly, over time, through disciplined reinvestment. Every increase in income should first go toward assets, not unnecessary expenses. I remember when I got my first raise. Most of my friends went out and upgraded their lifestyle immediately. I, on the other hand, took a portion and invested it into a small rental property in a side venture. Over the years, those choices multiplied, while others were left chasing bigger bills with bigger paychecks. Wealth grows silently in the background when your assets work for you. Money invested wisely compounds like seeds in fertile soil. A dollar spent on liabilities disappears. A dollar invested in assets returns tenfold over time. The mind must be trained to see opportunity, not temptation. Every purchase is a decision that either strengthens your financial foundation or erodes it. Ask yourself, does this enhance my financial freedom or limit it? The answer will guide every step you take. So, invest in assets, not liabilities. Track your spending. Redirect funds toward income-generating investments, and resist the temptation of lifestyle inflation. This simple yet profound shift in thinking is what transforms ordinary earners into financially independent people. Build assets first, and everything else will follow. Financial freedom doesn't begin with income. It begins with discipline. You can make a fortune, yet if you don't control your spending, that fortune will slip through your fingers faster than you realize. I've seen it countless times. People who earn well, yet live paycheck to paycheck because they let their impulses dictate their finances. Money doesn't disappear because you earn too little. It disappears because you haven't given it direction. Money follows self-discipline. When you learn to manage it, you create options, freedom, and power. When you fail to manage it, it becomes a relentless master, pulling you into stress, debt, and uncertainty. The first step toward financial mastery is to give every dollar a job. Don't let money wander aimlessly from your hands to bills, temptations, and fleeting comforts. Each dollar should have a purpose: living expenses, investments, education, and giving. Assigning intention to your money transforms it from a fleeting resource into a strategic tool. One simple method I've followed throughout my life is the 7-0-1-0-1-0-1-0 rule. 70% covers living expenses, 10% goes toward investments, 10% toward personal growth, and 10% toward charity. This formula ensures that life is lived responsibly, your future is funded, your mind grows, and you remain generous. But formulas alone are not enough. Awareness is crucial. Track every expense for at least 1 month. Write it down, log it in a spreadsheet, or use an app, whatever works. You'll be shocked at where your money sneaks away. The morning coffee, the impulse purchase, the subscription you forgot about, all of it adds up. Awareness creates accountability, and accountability creates control. Discipline is reinforced every time you pause before spending. Before you buy, ask yourself, will this purchase build wealth, or is it just a temporary relief from boredom or desire? Those seconds of reflection are the difference between accumulation and depletion. I remember a time early in my career when I ignored these habits. I would spend what I had without thinking, only to find my bank account empty days later. Once I committed to discipline, tracking, and intentional spending, I discovered an entirely new relationship with money. The power shifted. I wasn't chasing it, I was commanding it. And that is the essence of wealth. Not just earning, but mastering. Control your spending, and you control your life. Wealth is never created by trading hours for dollars alone. The average person works harder and longer, yet wonders why their income stagnates. True wealth comes from multiplying effort, not merely adding more hours. It's a matter of leverage, using time, people, and systems to create outcomes far beyond what one individual could achieve alone. I've seen it countless times in my own life and in the lives of those I've mentored. Early on, I worked tirelessly, believing that if I just did more, I would earn more. Yet the breakthrough didn't come from working harder, it came from working smarter. The rich understand a simple principle. You don't have to do everything yourself. You leverage the knowledge, skills, and energy of others. Delegation is not shirking responsibility, it's multiplying results. When you hire, outsource, or collaborate on tasks that don't require your highest contribution, you free your time to focus on what only you can do, creating value, building strategy, and growing income streams. Alongside people, systems are your greatest allies. A well-designed system ensures that effort continues to produce results even when you are not actively working. Think of automatic investment plans, recurring revenue products, or client pipelines that run on processes rather than constant input. Technology magnifies this effect. Tools for tracking finances, managing investments, automating savings, and monitoring growth remove the guesswork and guard against human error. I remember when I first set up automatic transfers to investment accounts while focusing on growing a side business. At the time, the contributions were small, but by leveraging systems, consistency became effortless, and years later, those small steps yielded compounding growth far beyond what I could have achieved by mere effort alone. Leverage turns limited resources into exponential outcomes. Time becomes flexible, energy is preserved, and impact multiplies. The mindset shift is critical. Stop asking how much you can do alone, and start asking how much can happen when you combine your energy with others and systems designed to amplify it. Every successful person I know relies on some combination of delegation, automation, and strategic leverage. This is how wealth grows beyond your personal labor. It grows through multiplied effort, intelligent planning, and intentional systems. Remember, trading time directly for money has limits, but leveraging time, people, and systems has no ceiling. One of the most powerful lessons about wealth is that it grows when it is shared. Many people think that holding on tightly to every dollar is the path to security, but the truth is quite the opposite. Wealth is not just accumulation, it is contribution. The money you keep stagnant may provide temporary comfort, but the money you release with intention creates energy, opportunity, and momentum. I've learned this from my own journey and from observing others who built not only financial success, but influence and impact. The principle is simple. When you give, you expand the circle of possibilities. Giving creates a ripple effect. It builds goodwill, opens doors, and often returns in unexpected ways. I remember a time when I started mentoring a young entrepreneur. I shared what little I knew about business, investments, and personal discipline. At the time, it felt like I was giving away resources I could have used for myself. Yet, years later, that young man became a collaborator, and the projects we built together created opportunities and income far beyond my initial expectation. Giving strategically is the secret. It is not random charity. It is purposeful contribution to people, causes, and networks that align with your values. Allocate a portion of your income for causes that matter, not only because it feels good, but because it strengthens relationships and builds influence. Mentoring is another form of giving. Sharing knowledge, time, and experience creates new leaders, opens doors for collaboration, and often returns insights and opportunities to you. Wealth built in isolation is fragile. Wealth built through contribution is resilient. I also learned early on that sharing knowledge, whether through informal advice, workshops, or simple conversations, often comes back in ways that surpass the original investment. A single idea shared with the right person can multiply into ventures, partnerships, or investments you could never have orchestrated alone. Giving teaches discipline, reinforces purpose, and keeps wealth circulating rather than stagnating. It also trains the mind to think beyond the self and to see opportunity in service. Those who focus solely on accumulation often become trapped in fear and scarcity. But those who give consistently attract abundance. Money, time, and knowledge given wisely always return, often magnified. If you want to grow wealth, not only for yourself, but for your life's impact, start giving. Invest in others, invest in your community, and invest in the future. The measure of wealth is not only in your bank account, but in the positive difference you create. Generosity is not a detour from financial success, it is the path. As we draw this conversation to a close, I want you to remember this: wealth is not something you stumble upon, it is something you cultivate with your mind, your habits, and your choices. It begins long before the first dollar lands in your bank account. It begins with how you think, how you plan, and how you act consistently. Every decision you make today shapes the freedom, security, and opportunities of tomorrow. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive is not luck, it's clarity, discipline, and the willingness to do the small, daily things that others overlook. So, I challenge you to take action immediately. Pay yourself first. Track every dollar. Learn something new today that your future self will thank you for. Delay a fleeting pleasure and invest in your growth. Surround yourself with thinkers, not complainers. Build systems that work, even when your motivation wavers. And finally, give wisely, because true wealth multiplies when it is shared. Decide today that you will no longer let money control you. Decide today that your mind will lead, your habits will follow, and your life will transform. The path is clear. Step forward, take control, and start building the wealth that lasts a lifetime.